double knit that keeps you warm even in the biting southerly. He seemed thinner than I remembered him, more tired and with new worry lines in his tanned face. Everything else about him was unchanged. He still had the habit of pausing a little before he spoke, as if to consider the appropriate words. His grey overcoat showed careful darning. Folks who were able to pay outright for his services were thin on the ground, but I never heard him complain. Not even when he had to row the boat on his own over to the island because his man was too scared of us. "I'll take the oars if you like," I said. Dr. Hillier raised his eyebrows. "That is handsome of you, Jimmy, but I think I am still up to that task. You've got your luggage?" My well-filled swag fitted neatly next to the doctor's bag in the bow. I used to have a lot less to carry in the old days, when I was roaming the country in search of paid work. Now I owned 2 complete changes of clothes, down to the small clothes, rolled up in an almost new oilcloth, all donated by the good people of Littleton. The doctor and I took 1 oar each. The weight felt good in my hands, clumsy as they were. I was still a strong man, and I was the master of my own fate. At last. The island, at first a tiny speck in the distance, managed to look inviting as we drew nearer. That illusion of congeniality must have been what lured the original settlers to Otamahua, Quail Island, in the first place. Green, lush, and temptingly close to Littleton and the new city of Christchurch, any farming man would have taken it for the answer to his prayers, instead of the hellhole it actually was. What a joke. Here I was going back to the one place I hated with all my heart, and yet I couldn't wait to reach it. The doctor seemed to sense my mood. "It has been an unlucky place right from the start," he said to me, and pointed towards the island. "Even the birds it is named for didn't survive long once we Europeans arrived." He paused again. "Are you sure you want to go back to the camp?" I simply nodded. "You can always change your mind, you know. I shall be happy to take you back to the mainland with me again whenever you want to." We pulled up alongside the pier. Our camp was almost at the top of the island, an ankle-turning climb of 200 feet over rocks and tree roots. The picket fence looked flimsier than I remembered, and with the 3 wooden huts behind it, it made a happy picture in the sunshine, with the white of the weatherboard set off by the backdrop of green and brown bush and the multi-hued blue of the sky. But once the sunshine was gone, it never lasted long after our midday meal, the wind would start to howl, and Quail Island would show its real face, an ugly, scarred face, like mine. We were a good match. The hut, my hut, the closest to the fence, appeared unchanged. A little bit of the gut-wrenching tension inside my body melted away. Deep down I had feared the other one would have taken it when I left. That's what would have happened in the real world. One leaves something valuable out of one's sight, and someone else snatches it up, swift as a bird snatching a worm. Seeing my swag, I realized this was the richest I had ever been. With these fine clothes, real gentleman's clothes made out of quality material and with hardly any signs of wear, and a solid, weather-tight roof of my own over my head. I chuckled. The doctor, who had followed me inside, looked at me in surprise. "May I share the joke?" he asked in his well-bred British voice that held no trace of a New Zealand accent. I leant against the wall, pressing the palms of my hand against the solid wood. "You know, Doctor, all this time since you first had to drag me here, I used to think of myself and the old man and then the other bloke as us poor buggers. But we aren't, are we? I mean, look at me here, all spruced up with someone else to supply my meals, no money worries and a house of my own. A rich old bugger, that's who I am." Dr. Hillier smiled politely. "I see. But of course he didn't. Nobody could who hadn't lived through our own special